Ethan woke the next morning to a soft hum that filled the room. The walls glowed faintly, as if greeting him with the rising light of the alien sun. He rubbed his eyes and sat up slowly, realizing again where he was. Not in the human camp, not in his bunk, but in the heart of an alien capital inside a palace that looked alive. The bed beneath him shimmered when he moved, its crystal threads adjusting to his weight. The water in the basin sparkled with a gentle glow, and when he drank from it, it was cool and sweet, almost refreshing enough to calm his restless thoughts. But calm was not easy for him. The memory of the throne room from the night before played, again in his mind, the queen's golden eyes, her commanding voice, and her unexpected respect for him. He had never felt so noticed in his life. Back on Earth, he was just an engineer. Here, he was suddenly important. Before he could gather his thoughts further, the door opened with a soft shift of light. A guard entered, tall and silent, his glowing armor making him look like a walking star. He gestured politely for Ethan to follow. Ethan's heart raced. He knew where this path would lead, back to the Queen. The halls were vast and alive with flowing lights. Alien attendants watched him as he passed, their whispers echoing softly. Some looked curious, some doubtful, and a few clearly disapproving. Ethan kept his head steady, reminding himself that he had done nothing wrong. The throne room opened before him once again. The Queen sat in her crystal seat, calm and regal as before. The royal child sat beside her this time, safe and cheerful, its glowing lines pulsing gently as it played with a hovering orb of light. When the child noticed Ethan, it smiled brightly and waved. Ethan smiled back. Somehow, that small gesture gave him courage. The Queen raised her hand and the room fell silent. Her golden eyes locked onto Ethan. "Human," she began, her voice smooth yet powerful. "You stand before me not as a prisoner, but as one who has earned my notice. You saved my child. That act alone binds you to our people's story." Ethan bowed his head slightly. "I only did what was right," he answered. The Queen tilted her head. "Perhaps. But in doing so, you have challenged what many believe. My people see humans as fragile shadows, unworthy of trust. Yet you proved strength where none was expected. You showed courage without thought of gain. That is not weakness, it is rare power." Murmurs spread among the advisors and guards, but the Queen silenced them with a glance. Then she leaned forward, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "I will not let such a thing fade into silence. I offer you a place here, at my side, as advisor and companion to the royal court." Ethan froze. For a moment he thought he had misheard. Advisor? Companion? At her side? He struggled for words. "My queen," he began carefully. "I am honored, but I am only an engineer. I build, I repair. I am not trained to stand in courts or guide leaders." The Queen's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but something close. "And yet, it was not a trained soldier or learned advisor who saved my child. It was you. Sometimes, wisdom comes not from those who prepare their whole lives, but from those who act with heart when the moment calls." Ethan's chest tightened. Her words were heavy and they carried truth. Still, doubt clouded him. "Back on Earth," he said softly, "I was no one important. I worked with machines. People barely remembered my name." "Then Earth did not see you clearly," the Queen said firmly, "but I do." Her words struck him deeper than he expected. He looked around and saw the advisors shifting uncomfortably. He could feel their resistance. Not all of them wanted him here. Some clearly saw him as an outsider, maybe even a threat. One advisor finally stepped forward, his markings glowing sharply. "My queen, this is dangerous. A human cannot be placed at your side. It is against tradition. It dishonors our people." The Queen did not raise her voice, but her reply carried power. "What dishonors us is to turn away from truth when it stands before us. This human's act of courage deserves more than gratitude. It deserves a place in history." The advisor bowed reluctantly and stepped back, but Ethan could feel the tension in the room. He was being given an honor, yes, but also placed at the center of conflict. He turned back to the Queen. "If I accept," he asked carefully, "what would you expect of me?" The Queen's gaze softened just slightly. "I would expect you to remain true to yourself. Speak when others are silent. See where others are blind. Be protector not only to my child, but to the bond that may grow between our people. Stand as proof that humanity is not weakness, but strength." Ethan's breath caught. He had never imagined his life could lead here. It was overwhelming. Still, part of him hesitated. He thought of his fellow humans, of his commanders waiting at the research base. What would they think if he accepted such a role? Would they see him as a traitor, or as someone opening doors? His silence stretched long, but the Queen waited patiently. Finally, Ethan lifted his head. "I don't know if I am worthy," he admitted. "But if my choice can help your people and mine understand each other, then I cannot turn away." The Queen's golden eyes brightened, and for the first time her lips curved into a true smile. "Then it is decided. You will stand at my side. From this day, you are no longer just a guest. You are an honored protector and companion to the throne." The child clapped its glowing hands happily, clearly pleased with the decision. Ethan felt his heart warm at the sight, but he also felt the weight of eyes on him, the doubt, the resistance, the expectation. He was no longer just an engineer. He was part of something far greater and far more dangerous. As the court was dismissed, the Queen motioned for Ethan to walk beside her. Together they stepped into a private corridor lined with flowing light. The child skipped ahead of them, laughing softly. The Queen spoke in a quieter tone now. "Ethan Cole, do not mistake my words for flattery. I do not choose lightly. Many will resist you. Some will even seek to test you. But I believe in what I saw yesterday, and I believe in what you can become." Ethan nodded slowly, still trying to grasp the enormity of it all. "I'll do my best," he said. "That is all I ask," the Queen replied. As they reached the end of the corridor, Ethan paused, looking out at the alien city glowing beneath the strange sky. He had come here expecting to fix machines, not to stand beside a queen. Now his life had changed forever, and deep inside, he wondered what the future would bring: friendship, danger, or perhaps something even more unexpected. The alien guards stood tall around Ethan, their glowing armor reflecting the dim violet light of the alien sky. Their sharp, carved patterns shimmered with energy, making them look both majestic and intimidating. Ethan's heart beat faster as he realized how small he seemed before them. He was just a human engineer in simple gear, carrying nothing more than a scanner and a backpack. Yet here he was, standing with the heir to their throne still clutching his hand. The tallest guard stepped forward. His eyes glowed with deep blue light and his voice rumbled like distant thunder. Ethan could not understand the words, but the tone was clear, firm, commanding, and yet not hostile. The guard gestured toward the child, then at Ethan, and finally, toward the forest path. Ethan understood the message. "Come with us." He looked down at the child, who still refused to release his hand. The child's glowing markings pulsed calmly now, no longer frantic with fear. For a moment, Ethan wondered what would happen if he refused. But then he realized he had little choice. Alone, he would not last long in this forest. Besides, these were the child's people. Returning the child to them was the right thing to do. With a cautious nod, Ethan followed. The guards moved swiftly, their steps silent despite their heavy armor. Ethan struggled to keep pace, pushing aside vines and stumbling over roots. Yet, none of the guards slowed. They seemed to move as if the forest itself bent out of their way. The child walked beside him, occasionally glancing up with trusting eyes. That simple look gave Ethan the strength to keep going. After nearly an hour of walking, the forest opened into a wide valley. Ethan gasped at the sight before him. Towering, crystal-like structures rose from the ground, glowing faintly in the fading light. They looked natural yet shaped with purpose, as if nature and architecture had worked together. At the center stood a massive spire, its surface rippling with energy. This was no village. This was a capital. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had not just saved any child. He had saved a prince, or perhaps a princess, of a great alien empire. The guards led him through the outer gates. Alien citizens turned to stare as he passed. Their glowing eyes widened at the sight of a human walking hand in hand with the royal child. Whispers rose in the air, strange and musical, though Ethan could not understand them. Some voices sounded curious, others doubtful, and a few seemed almost hostile, but no one stopped him. Inside the great spire, the air grew cooler. The walls pulsed with light as if alive. Ethan's gaze darted across glowing symbols etched into the surfaces. They looked like both art and language, full of meaning he wished he could understand. The guards brought him into a vast chamber. At its center sat a throne carved of crystal, shimmering with shifting colors. And upon that throne sat the queen. Ethan froze. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Tall and regal, her skin glowed with deeper markings than the others, her patterns flowing like rivers of light. Her eyes shone with golden brilliance, steady and calm. She wore a crown of woven crystal strands, each one pulsing faintly as if alive. She did not need guards to show her authority. Her very presence commanded respect. The child broke free of Ethan's hand and ran forward. The queen bent gracefully, lifting the child into her arms. She spoke softly, her words filled with relief and warmth. The chamber filled with low murmurs from others present, advisors, soldiers, attendants, all watching the reunion. Then, slowly, the queen's gaze turned to Ethan. He swallowed hard, unsure what to do. Should he bow? Should he stand tall? He chose something simple. He placed a hand on his chest and gave a respectful nod. The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice smooth yet commanding. To Ethan's surprise, a translator, device embedded in the chamber, activated. Her words shifted into basic speech he could understand. "You are human," she said, "and yet you carried my child from death to life. Why?" Ethan blinked. He had not expected such a direct question. "Because—" He hesitated, then spoke honestly. "Because the child needed help. Where I come from, we do not walk away from those in need. Not if we can do something." The chamber grew silent. The queen's golden eyes searched his face, as if weighing the truth in his words. Finally, she inclined her head slightly. "You risked much," she said. "Others would have turned away. Some would have feared. But you acted without hesitation. This I cannot ignore." The child in her arms tugged gently at her robe and pointed at Ethan, babbling in their native tongue. The queen's expression softened for a brief moment before she turned back to him. "You must understand," she continued. "Our people see humans as fragile, short-lived, unfit for great responsibility. Yet my child holds your hand, and my guards tell me you lifted metal alone to free them. You are not what we believed." Ethan felt heat rise to his face. "I'm not special," he said quietly. "I just did what anyone should do." The queen leaned back, her gaze never leaving him. "Perhaps, but it was you who did it, and for that I will honor you." Murmurs rose again through the chamber. Some aliens looked shocked, others displeased. Ethan realized not everyone agreed with the queen's decision. An advisor stepped forward, his markings glowing with sharp lines of disapproval. "My queen," he said in their tongue, though the translator allowed Ethan to hear. "This human is an outsider. We must not raise him above his place. Gratitude, yes, but not honor." The queen's gaze turned to him and her voice grew firmer. "Gratitude is not enough. This human saved the air. His courage has touched even me. To ignore it would shame us." The advisor bowed reluctantly and stepped back. The queen turned her attention once more to Ethan. "Human, you are summoned to remain in this city as my guest. You will be treated with respect. Tomorrow I will speak with you again. For now you may rest." Ethan's heart pounded. A guest of the Queen? It sounded like an honor, but he also knew it meant he was not free to leave. Still, he nodded. "Thank you," he said. "I will do as you ask." The Queen gave a small, satisfied nod, then motioned for her attendants. 2 guards stepped forward, not with weapons but with guiding gestures. They led Ethan out of the throne room into a smaller chamber prepared for him. The room was unlike anything he had seen. Walls that glowed softly with shifting colors, a bed made of woven crystal threads that bent gently under touch, and a basin of clear water that sparkled faintly. When he was finally alone, Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, his mind racing. He had come here to fix machines, to study alien technology. Now he had saved a royal child, stood before a queen, and been summoned to remain as her guest. He rubbed his face with both hands. "What have I gotten myself into?" he whispered. Yet even as he said it, he felt a strange sense of calm. Tree. Child's trusting eyes still lingered in his memory, and the Queen's words echoed in his thoughts. He had done what was right, and somehow it had placed him at the center of something far greater than he had ever expected. That night, as the alien city glowed beneath the stars, Ethan lay awake wondering what tomorrow would bring. The sky was painted with strange colors that evening. Golden clouds stretched wide across the alien horizon, glowing with faint streaks of violet. The air carried the scent of burning wood mixed with the sharp tang of minerals that humans were still learning to identify. Ethan Cole, a human engineer from Earth, adjusted the straps of his backpack as he walked through the thick undergrowth of the alien forest. His mission was simple: collect data samples and check the supply relay that had been placed 2 kilometers from the main camp. Ethan was no soldier. He had joined the expedition because he loved machines and puzzles. Back home, he had repaired engines, built simple robots, and tinkered with every gadget he could find. When Earth announced a joint exploration mission to a new alien world, he volunteered, hoping to see new technologies. He never expected danger to become part of his daily life. But danger was everywhere on this planet. The forest was filled with vines that could wrap around ankles, insects that glowed with tiny sparks of electricity, and trees so tall their roots looked like walls. Ethan had learned to walk carefully, to listen for unusual sounds, and to trust his instincts. That day, while checking his scanner, he heard something unusual, a faint crash followed by a cry. It was not the cry of a human. It was softer, high-pitched, almost musical. Ethan froze. His training told him to be cautious, but his heart told him something else. He followed the sound, pushing aside leaves the size of blankets. After several minutes, he reached a small clearing. His eyes widened. A transport craft, smaller than the ones humans used, had crashed into the ground. Smoke rose from its bent frame. Metal panels were twisted and glowing, and strange blue sparks ran along its edges. And then he saw it. A small alien child, no taller than his waist, was pinned under a piece of broken metal. The child's skin shimmered faintly like polished stone, glowing with patterns that pulsed softly in the dim light. Its large eyes blinked in fear, and its small hands tried to push the debris away. But it was too heavy. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He had never seen this species up close. Their people were known to be powerful, even feared by many spacefaring civilizations. His team had been warned to avoid direct contact until proper diplomacy was established. Yet here was one of them, fragile, helpless, and alone. For a moment, Ethan hesitated. If he helped, it could lead to trouble with both his own leaders and the aliens. But then the child cried again, a sound so full of pain and fear that his decision was made. Rules could wait. Saving a life could not. He dropped his pack and rushed forward. The child's glowing eyes widened when it saw him, but it did not struggle. It only whimpered softly. Ethan knelt beside the wreckage, examining the twisted metal. It was heavy, but not impossible to move. "All right, little one," Ethan whispered, though he knew the child could not understand. "Hold on, I've got you." He braced his feet against the dirt and pushed. The metal did not budge at first. His arms shook with effort. Sweat rolled down his forehead. He growled, refusing to give up. Finally, with one last desperate push, the debris tilted and rolled to the side. The child gasped as it was freed. Ethan gently lifted it into his arms. The alien was light, almost weightless, and its body gave off a faint warmth. Strange glowing lines ran along its arms and neck, pulsing faster as if in rhythm with fear. Ethan guessed those lines were part of its biology, maybe even a sign of its emotions. "You're safe now," he said softly, though again he knew the child could not understand. The child clung to him, surprising him with its trust. Ethan looked around. The forest was silent except for the crackle of burning metal. He knew that if the ship had crashed, others would soon come searching. Perhaps rescuers, perhaps enemies. He had to decide quickly. Taking the child back to the human camp was risky. It might cause diplomatic disaster. But leaving the child, here alone, was not an option. Ethan sighed. He would carry the child until help arrived. That was the only choice his heart allowed. As he walked, he thought of his life on Earth. He remembered how he once found an injured bird when he was a boy. Everyone told him it would die, but he had cared for it until it flew again. His parents used to laugh and say Ethan could never walk past someone in need without trying to help. Looking down at the alien child clinging to him now, Ethan realized nothing had changed. The forest grew darker as night approached. Strange lights flickered among the trees, tiny creatures floating like sparks. Ethan kept moving, one hand holding the child, the other gripping his scanner. Every sound made him alert. He knew he was carrying someone important, though he did not yet understand just how important. Then far away he heard movement. Branches snapped. Voices echoed, deep, resonant, nothing like human speech. Ethan stopped, heart pounding. The child stirred in his arms, then gave a faint cry, as if recognizing the sounds. Out of the shadows, tall figures appeared. They were armored, their bodies glowing faintly like the child's but with sharper patterns like carved lightning. Their eyes glowed with intensity as they spotted Ethan. Weapons gleamed in their hands. Ethan froze. His mind raced. Should he run? He put the child down, but before he could act, the child in his arms raised its small hand toward the figures and gave a soft call. The armored alien stopped. For a long moment, silence ruled the clearing. Then one of them lowered his weapon and stepped forward. He looked at Ethan, then at the child, and gave a gesture that seemed both respectful and surprised. Ethan slowly knelt, setting the child gently on the ground. The child, however, refused to let go of his hand. Its glowing eyes looked up at him with trust. The armored aliens exchanged looks. One of them spoke in a deep voice, the words unknown but heavy with meaning. Then, to Ethan's surprise, the alien saluted him, not as an enemy, not even as a stranger, but as someone who had done something honorable. Ethan felt his breath catch. He did not know what this meant, but he understood one thing. His simple act of kindness had just changed everything. The child, still holding his hand, gave him a faint smile. And in that moment, Ethan realized he had stepped into a story far larger than he had ever imagined. The city of glowing crystal spires buzzed with quiet energy as Ethan prepared for his first mission as the Queen's appointed protector. Despite his honor, he could not deny the tension within him. Today, he would accompany elite alien forces to confront a dangerous rogue faction threatening the safety of the royal heir, the very child he had saved. The Queen herself had briefed him. "Ethan," she said, her golden eyes steady, "this will be the first true test of your role. Your strength is not only in muscle but in thought. Watch carefully, speak carefully, act carefully. The future of our people may depend on it." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her trust. The elite force was composed of soldiers taller than any human he had seen, their armor shimmering with flowing energy lines. Weapons hummed at their sides, But Ethan noticed something remarkable. They moved in perfect synchronization, like a single living entity. The rogue faction, he learned, was not ordinary enemies. They were former advisors and warriors who believed the royal family had grown too weak to lead. They sought to capture the child, exploiting their small size and curiosity. Ethan realized the threat was more serious than he had imagined. The soldiers, while efficient, moved cautiously. Ethan had been told they valued strategy and precision. But as they neared the rogue encampment, he saw that the terrain favored neither their size nor their numbers. Alien machines blocked the path and energy traps glimmered faintly along the rocky ground. Ethan's mind raced. On Earth, he had solved difficult engineering problems, repaired malfunctioning engines, and built devices with limited materials. Perhaps here, he could help in ways the soldiers did not expect. "Here," he whispered, pointing to a narrow ridge above the camp. "We can use that to move undetected. They won't expect it from this direction." The captain of the alien force, a tall figure with glowing blue lines, raised an eyebrow. Then, after a brief nod, he gestured for the unit to follow Ethan's lead. The plan worked. Using his human ingenuity and knowledge of terrain, Ethan guided the soldiers silently along the ridge. From above, they could observe the rogue faction's movements without being detected. Ethan realized how much he had underestimated himself. The soldiers relied on him, not just for guidance but for ideas. Then came the first challenge. One of the rogue machines detected motion below, sending a warning pulse into the air. Ethan acted quickly. He instructed the soldiers to form a false signal, confusing the rogue sensors with a pattern no alien machine had anticipated. Within moments, the detection faded, and the group remained unnoticed. The Queen had trusted him, and now her soldiers relied on him. Ethan felt a mix of pride and pressure. Every step mattered. Every choice could mean success or failure. Finally, they reached the rogue faction's main encampment. Ethan suggested a non-violent approach first. "We can isolate them, remove their weapons, and take the child safely," he said. The captain hesitated but saw the logic in Ethan's plan. The operation began. Alien soldiers moved with silent precision, following Ethan's guidance. They disarmed traps, redirected patrols, and advanced carefully. Every time the rogue faction tried to respond, Ethan found a way to counter it, not with brute force, but with clever planning. Soon they reached the child's location. The young alien looked frightened but calm when it saw Ethan and the Queen's soldiers. It had remembered him, the one human who had saved its life. With a gentle gesture, Ethan encouraged the child to move toward safety. The rogue faction realized, too late, that they had been outsmarted. Confused and cornered, they surrendered without a fight. The alien soldiers moved quickly to secure the area, following Ethan's instructions. When the mission ended, the Queen herself arrived to greet them. Her golden eyes shone with approval as she looked at Ethan. "You have done well," she said, "not with force but with wisdom. You have earned the trust of my people and my soldiers." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. For the first time, he truly understood what the Queen had seen in him. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of her world, part of something larger than himself. That night, as the city's glowing lights reflected on his room's walls, Ethan sat quietly. The child visited, bringing a small floating orb that pulsed with soft light. It hovered near him, almost like a silent, "Thank you." Ethan smiled. He had done more than save a life. He had begun to build a bond that would last a lifetime. Outside, the city thrummed with energy, alive and watchful. And somewhere Ethan knew the story of a human who dared to care had begun to change the hearts of an entire civilization. Days passed quickly. Ethan settled into life at the palace, walking the halls with the child by his side, attending councils and learning the alien ways. Yet even as he grew comfortable, tension simmered beneath the surface. Not everyone welcomed a human in the Queen's inner circle. Some advisors whispered doubts, some soldiers scowled when he offered ideas. Ethan knew he was an outsider. But he also knew the child, the very reason he was here, trusted him completely. And he had the Queen's unwavering support. That balance gave him courage. One morning, news arrived that human authorities wanted Ethan to return immediately. They feared he had been compromised or enlisted into alien ranks. His heart sank. He respected his people, but he had responsibilities. Here too, could he leave? Could he abandon the child who trusted him? He sought the Queen's counsel. "Your Majesty," he said, "my people, they want me back. They don't understand. I don't know what to do." The Queen's expression was calm, but firm. "Ethan, your place is here, not because I demand it, but because you chose it. You stand between our people and theirs, showing what cooperation can achieve. A bridge is never built in a day, and it requires someone willing to stand in two worlds at once." Her words strengthened him. He realized that loyalty was not simple. True loyalty could mean serving a cause greater than oneself. Then came a more immediate challenge. Rival factions within the palace attempted subtle sabotage, misdirecting soldiers, sending false messages, testing Ethan's decisions. It was clear some aliens did not trust a human. Ethan faced each trial with careful thought. He listened before acting, observed before speaking. When the rival faction tried to trap him in a council meeting, he found a solution that protected the child and the Queen without angering anyone unnecessarily. Slowly, respect grew. Alien soldiers who had doubted him now sought his opinion. Advisors who had whispered against him began to nod at his strategies. Ethan realized that being human, his creativity, his compassion, his willingness to act differently, was exactly what the alien world needed. Finally, the day came when the Queen held a grand assembly. Representatives from all parts of her civilization gathered, along with observers from human leadership. Ethan stood beside the Queen and the child, feeling a mixture of pride and tension. The Queen spoke first, her voice strong and clear. "People of this realm and friends from afar, witness a truth you may not expect. Courage, wisdom, and compassion do not belong to one species alone. One human has proven that strength can come from unexpected places. He has saved the royal heir, protected our people, and shown us a path forward. For this he will remain at my side, not as a possession but as a protector, a bridge and a friend." Murmurs filled the hall. Some gasped, some nodded, some smiled. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He realized that in saving a single life, he had created a ripple that touched thousands. The child stepped forward, glowing markings bright with happiness, and took Ethan's hand. "Thank you," the child said in the translator's voice. Ethan smiled, kneeling slightly. "You don't need to thank me," he said softly. "I will always be here for you." The assembly ended, but Ethan knew his role was just beginning. He would face challenges, doubts, and perhaps danger. Yet he also knew this: humanity's heart, courage, and creativity had found a place among the stars. That night, as the city shimmered under alien moons, Ethan looked at the child sleeping nearby, and then at the Queen watching over them both. He felt at peace. Not because the path was easy, but because he had chosen it. He was a human in a world of aliens, yes, but he was also a symbol of what humans could offer: courage in action, wisdom in thought, and compassion in every choice. And somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning.